All right, hey guys. Today I am going to show you how to make the full size drawing off of your thumbnail sketches. The tools that you're going to need. So you're going to need one of the bases. You actually don't need to have one of the bases. You just need to know the dimensions of the base. So I'm going to give you that now. You're also going to need your ruler, and you're going to need a stick. That's the actual size of the sticks you're going to be using, a sharpened pencil, and you're going to need whatever thumbnail sketch you decided to create. All right, so first thing you want to do is you want to add a base. And I noticed on my thumbnail sketch that I put my base right here. All right, so my base is right there. I have to figure out the exact size of my base to put it on. So if this is going to be my base, I have to measure the side of it to see exactly how big this base is. And all the bases are almost going to be exactly the same size. So this is 3.5. If you can see there, 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And let's see how thick that is. It is 3/4 of an inch thick. I'm not sure if you can see that on there, but you can trust me, it's 3/4 of an inch. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my base onto my paper. I'm going to add my base down lower like left hand side so I can build it off of this. So I'm going to put my ruler right at the edge, and I'm going to measure out 3.5 inches. So I have 3.5 inches there. Now I want to measure up 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so the 3/4 of an inch is right here. And I'm going to go over another 3.5 inches to the side of the paper one more time. All right, try to make it as neat as possible and as straight as possible. Now, there's my base. If I would take this base and I would put it right on top, it's almost like I traced it onto my paper. It's right there. So it's the actual size. All right. So now I want to take a look at my thumbnail sketch. In fact, if I wanted to label this, I could. I'm at 3.5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. All right. Now I want to take and look at my drawing to figure out exactly where I'm going to be putting the lines. And I noticed that I put this out. You have to attach your point. You have to have your S hook attached, and my S hook attachment is going to be right there. All right. So I put this little lip up at the top, and I wanted to make out to this very far point 14 inches from the base, because I need to have a minimum of 13.5 inches. So I need to be between 13 and 14 inches. So if I make that point right there, the very edge of where I'm going to, 14 inches, I know I'm going to hang my S hook at 13.5 inches. So that's where the ruler is going to come in. I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to measure out from the base. I'm going to measure out, in fact, I could draw a straight line off of the bottom of the base. And I'm going to go out 12 inches to start with, because that's as long as my ruler is. All right, so I'm going to go 12 inches here. Now I have to add another 2 inches to the edge of it. All right, because I need to go a total of 14 inches. So I take my ruler and I add it onto the edge, and then I go 14 inches. So right now, this whole line from the edge of the base to the edge of where my cantilever is going to go is 14 inches. It's 14 inches. All right. Now I'm going to place a stick on there, because what we're doing, we're actually going to be tracing the sticks exactly where they are, like exactly where they're going to go. So we have the life-size drawing of the actual size of the stick. So I put the stick down and I trace it out as far as it goes. Now the stick is only 12 inches, so I'm going to need to extend it just a little bit farther. And that's why I made that first line with the ruler, so I could get the right distance. Then I look here. All right, and then the edge, it's right there. So that's my base of my cantilever. Is going to go all the way out to there. All right, now let's take a look at the next line on my cantilever. And I could choose any of these lines, but I want to do the outside first. I'm going to go all the way along the base, all the way up the top, and then down. So I want to figure out how tall I want my cantilever to be at this point. Remember, your thumbnail sketch is just kind of a guide. It doesn't have to be exact. So in real life, I think I want my cantilever to go up to about, I would say about here. All right, so I'm going to place the stick exactly where I want to mark my lines on the exact angle, and I trace the stick without moving it kind of as high as I want it to be. All right, so that's where I'm gonna have my first line go. I'm gonna then extend this out to the edge. Now, in order to extend it out to the edge, I'm gonna use my ruler or another straight edge. So I can use my ruler and maybe a piece of paper. I can maybe get 2 rulers and do it. I actually have a longer ruler right here that I could use in order to measure this all the way to the edge to make sure that I have the right angle. All right. And I want to go too far. So I'm going to go from right here. I'm going to trace that top line to the edge. All right, so I have that whole top line to the edge. Now I take my stick and I line it up with that line that I just drew. You have to get on a different angle sometimes to take a look at it. So I have the stick exactly where I drew it. Now I need to hold it and trace that line onto my actual drawing. Now it moved down here a little bit, so I'm going to redraw that line just to make sure. Then I take the actual stick, I extend it just a little bit farther to make sure that I go to where it touches. Now you'll notice that it seems like it's touching in a long point, but I'm actually going to cut this at a pretty big angle when I do it. So it's going to fit on that spot like just perfectly. Now my attachment point, I'm going to add a little bit, I'm going to add a stick across the top here. And so I want to draw that part in. Then I'm going to add another aspect to it. So then I have my square right there that represents the top where I'm going to hang the S hook. So the S hook will sit right in that area. All right, so right now I have the outside drawing of my cantilever. I'm not ready to begin making my cantilever until all of my lines are on there. So let's take a look at the next line I want to add. All right, so I'm going to add, I noticed that I put a stick from the bottom of the base up to that point, but I'm not sure exactly where that point is yet. So I'm going to add some of these truss units in here. And the first one I'm going to add is this one from that corner straight down to the edge. All right, so I'm going to go from this corner. You really could put any line on there that you want, but I'm going to go straight from this corner to like the edge. All right. Okay, so I drew the stick in. That's exactly where I put the stick. Now, what I want to do is I want to draw this. I noticed this line right here goes to the midpoint of here. So I want to take this and I want to draw one of the lines, the line that goes from the midpoint of this back piece to the middle of that, which is where I'm going to put that stick. All right, now I notice, so I've drawn these lines and that line. I've drawn this line in. So now I want to draw this line right here. Okay, so I'm going to come up just on an angle. Realize how I'm not measuring the angles on this. You're kind of eyeballing it from your sketch, but also putting it on the paper exactly how you want it. So I draw one line. Realize how I don't move the stick when I draw the second line. Okay, so I draw it on there. It's okay that I went over into that part. All right, it's okay, but the point that's important is that all of my sticks and all of my lines are exactly where I plan for them to be. All right. Now, I noticed that I've drawn this line now, and I'm going to draw this line going straight down. Not straight down, it's down on an angle. All right, so I kind of get the middle of that part. I draw that on that side. And I draw it on that side. All right, so now I have that connection point right there, which I notice is where I drew this bottom stick going to that exact same point. All right, so I'm going to put a stick right at the bottom of the base up to that point where where they're all going to meet. All right, I'm going to go about right there. Okay. Now, maybe I could have gone a little bit farther. It's actually going to have a big contact point there, but that's okay. If you want to erase some of the lines that have gone over, you can. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be. It's just kind of your guide and where you're going to be building from. So it doesn't actually have to be perfect. All right. So I'm going to draw the rest of the lines in here relatively quickly, coming off on angles, forming triangles because triangles are nice and strong truss units. Okay, I should say truss shapes. They're not actually units. Go down there, and I do show one more coming up to the middle here. So let's draw that in. All right, so now if you want to clean up some of the extra lines that you have, you may, you don't have to. All right, this is just fine. I could build straight off of this. If I'm looking at this at the life size drawing and now I notice that, you know what, that looks like kind of a big gap right there. Maybe it'll be beneficial to me if I have extra to be able to put a piece right here, connecting those two together just to make it a little bit stronger. All right. So it is slightly different than my thumbnail sketch. If you'll notice, I've added this extra little piece right there, and that piece is not right there. So if on the thumbnail sketch I want to draw that in, I can. But now my life-size drawing looks exactly, well, very, very close to my thumbnail sketch. And I can take this life-size drawing and now I can build my cantilever off of this life-size drawing